Good afternoon. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 3:30 p.m. Members of the public are invited to participate in this meeting of the Committee of Adjustments by attending the meeting in person at the council chambers at the Middlesex Center Municipal Office located at 10227 Ilderton Road, Coldstream. Members of the public may also access the meeting, which will be live streamed on our Middlesex Center YouTube channel, or by contacting the municipal deputy clerk to receive a registration link to join the meeting electronically. There are no additions to the agenda to note for the March 25th, 2026 Committee of Adjustments meeting. Members of the committee, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest to note? Okay, seeing none. Next up is the adoptions of the minutes. Minutes of the February 25th, 2026 Committee of Adjustments. The motion before us is that the minutes of the February 25th, 2026 Committee of Adjustments meeting be adopted as printed. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Coles and Councillor Arts, all in favor? And that is carried. For current applications, members of the public that wish to receive further notice on any of the applications being considered today, I ask that you please send an email to the deputy clerk at clerk@middlesexcenter.ca requesting further notification. Please be advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record. If you have any questions on any of the applications being heard today, we ask that you direct those to the appropriate planner on file. Members of the public that have requested to speak will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address council and provide comments on the application. In keeping with our procedural bylaw and our zone policy, I would remind all of our meeting participants to use respectful language and uphold our values of cooperation, trust, and openness. And item 5.1 is an application for consent B2-2025 and B2-/2026 and zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 4-2026 9554 McEwen Drive. And Dan Fitzgerald is the county planner, and he's in attendance to provide an overview of the application. Dan, if you'd like to go ahead.
Through the chair, thanks, committee members. So the purpose and effect of this application is essentially threefold. So the applicant is seeking two consent applications. The first being to amend the existing conditions of consent application file number B2-2025, as well as to establish a new maintenance and access easement through consent file number B2/2026. And this is primarily for an existing hydro line that is servicing the severed parcel. So further, the applicant is also seeking a zoning bylaw amendment to fulfill conditions of consent to rezone the proposed severed house from the surplus farm from the agricultural A1 zone to the surplus residential SR zone, and the remnant farm parcel would be rezoned from an agricultural A1 zone to an agricultural no residence or A3 zone. So as a bit of background, the application did come before committee on March 26, 2025. It was provisionally approved at that time to sever the existing dwelling off of the farm, as it did comply with all applicable policy for the severance of a residence that was deemed surplus to a farm consolidation. So as a condition of that severance, the applicant was required to rezone the lands in conformity with the OP policies and also ensure that the private services were wholly contained on the severed parcel, including the hydro service. So the requested rezoning helps to achieve the goals of the official plan policy and is considered appropriate and desirable in this case. It will also clear conditions of the original consent decision, that being B2-2025. The requested amendment to the consent and request for a service and maintenance easement has arisen since the applicant has been trying to clear the conditions of the original consent decision. More specifically, condition 12 of the original decision required that the applicant relocate the hydro service to be fully contained within the boundary of the severed residential lot. In discussing these options to move the hydro service line with the municipality as well as Hydro One, it did become apparent that moving the line would create conflict between existing municipal road infrastructure as well as Hydro One's existing corridor lines. So through discussion with the municipality, the applicant and Hydro One, it was determined that the best approach in this particular case is to just leave the line existing where it is in its current location and instead request that the applicant apply for the amending consent decision as well as the servicing and maintenance easement for the location of the existing hydro line. So therefore, the consent application before the committee does seek to amend condition 12 of the original consent, and it also seeks to permit the establishment of that easement for them to maintain the existing location of the hydro line that does cross the remnant farm parcel at two particular locations. So with that said, I am recommending approval of consent applications B2 2025 as amended, B2 2026, and zoning bylaw amendment applications at BA4 2026, all subject to the conditions as listed in the recommendation report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak online or in the gallery? Just here for questions? Okay. Okay, yeah, you don't have to speak, but okay. All righty, thank you. Are there any questions from the committee members? No? Okay. So then that means that the motion before us, and there is three different ones. The motion before us is that consent application B2-2025 filed by Trey White on behalf of Ken and Jeff White Limited in order to sever a lot with a frontage of approximately 11 meters on McEwen Drive and an area of approximately 0.32 hectares, and the retained lot having a broken frontage of approximately 587 meters on McEwen Drive and an area of 19.4 hectares for a property legally described as part of Lot 1, Concession 13 South in the municipality of Middlesex Center, County of Middlesex, and is municipally known as 9554 McEwen Drive be granted. And that consent B2 to 2025 be subject to a list of 14 conditions as noted, and further that the reason for granting consent application B2-2025 includes the proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement, the proposal conforms to the County of Middlesex official plan and the Middlesex Center official plan, and the proposal complies with the Middlesex Center comprehensive zoning bylaw. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Shipley, Councillor Arts, and all in favor, and that is carried. The second part of this is that consent application B2-2026 to establish a servicing maintenance and access easement for the existing hydro service line in favor of the severed lands conditionally approved in severance application B2-2025 described as part of Lot 1, Concession 13 South in the municipality of Middlesex Center, County of Middlesex, and municipally known as 9554 McEwen Drive be granted. And further that B2-2026 be subject to the 7 enclosed noted conditions. And further that the reason for granting consent application B2-2026 includes the proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement, the proposal conforms to the County of Middlesex official plan and the Middlesex Center official plan, and the proposal complies with the Middlesex Center comprehensive zoning bylaw. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Counselor Beers and Counselor Coles, and all in favor? And that is carried. And then the third part, that zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 4-2026 filed by Trey White on behalf of Ken and Jeff White Limited to rezone the land known as 9554 McEwen Drive from the agriculture A1 zone to surplus residence SR zone for the severed land of consent application B2-2025, and that the retained agriculture lands be rezoned from the agriculture A1 zone to the agriculture no residence A3 zone of consent application B2-2025 be approved. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Counselor Shipley, Counselor Bears, all in favor? And that is carried. Okay, and there is no correspondence items to note for the March 25th, 2026 Committee of Adjustments meeting. Members of the committee, is there any other business you wish to discuss? Okay, and consideration of bylaws. The motion before us is that bylaw 2026-020 listed on the March 25th, 2026 Committee of Adjustment meeting be approved. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Counselor Beers, Counselor Coles, and all in favor? And item 8.1, being a bylaw to amend the Middlesex Center Oh, oh, okay. So that's, oh, is that what that is?
Yeah. we just
Okay,
missed it.
okay. Okay, so next up, the motion before us is that the Committee of Adjustments for the Municipality of Middlesex Center adjourns the March 25th, 2026 meeting at 3:42. Can I get a mover, please? Counselor Beers and Counselor Coles, and all in favor? And that is carried.